So my near-death experience allowed me to understand how time and space work and functions of frequencies. So it allowed me to say step away from the reality of how we see ourselves because we can't really say study the reality that we're in if we are part of that reality. We have to step away, as Einstein said.
Welcome to Physics Powered Healing, where we bridge the gap between science and spirituality, transforming skepticism into belief. Join me, Dr. Anastasia Chopelas, a physicist turned energy healer, to explore the scientific underpinnings of energy healing and make the mystical measurable. Today, you're going to hear about how multiple near death experiences transform Masati, a thought leader known for his groundbreaking work in frequency based healing and human potential. And you can imagine I'm really excited to have him on. From these near death experiences, Masati gained unique insights into the fundamental nature of reality, which he channels into a system called exponential intelligence. I like that name.
Thank you.
This method works by shifting people's core frequencies, aiming for rapid and permanent life transformations. His methodologies and powerful results are corroborated by clinical research and are widely recognized in both scientific and personal development communities. Masadi's unique insights span across the fields of human consciousness, brain function, and the mechanics of space time, to name a few. He has worked with global leaders, professional athletes, and everyday individuals alike to unlock their highest potential. Wow. I'm so thrilled to welcome you to the show, Masadi.
Thank you so much, Doctor. It's an honor being here.
Oh, awesome. So, your personal transformation began after two near death experiences.
Mhm.
I've had them too. I
Yes.
just don't advertise them. Can you explain how these experiences reshaped your understanding of consciousness and how they influenced the development of your exponential intelligence?
Absolutely. There's a lot of near deaths that occur, like thousands a day, documented in the US alone. But there's certain individuals who I think are tailored or groomed, I would say, to have a conscious near death experience. And this is because there's so many people who have a near death experience and they come back with gifts and abilities or great healing abilities. People have cured themselves of cancer, people have healed themselves of traumatic brain injuries, and some people start to speak foreign languages and all that. So it's like, what consciousness are they, say, tapping into? So my near death experience allowed me to understand how time and space work and functions of frequencies. So it allowed me to say step away from the reality of how we see ourselves because we can't really say study the reality that we're in if we are part of that reality. We have to step away, as Einstein said. And as we do that, and I was an observer of, say, the physical reality or the physical bound dimensions of our physical form. And that's where my abilities come from.
I get it. I had in my own experiences, I didn't even realize I woke up with these gifts because I thought
Mhm.
everybody could do them because I was
Yep.
so young with the first one.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. And I saw in one of your broadcasts, you talked about how you were super curious as a child.
Yes.
Yeah. And that
Yeah.
describes mine. Like
Yeah,
I asked my
exactly.
mom one time, why am I so curious? She says, you were always that way.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I was so curious. I just always figured, wanted to see how things work. I actually took things apart, which my dad didn't really like brand new things. It's like I'm unscrewing them. But, I put them back nicely because I just needed to know how things worked. And then it led me to a point in my late teens to understand like the ideas that we struggle today as a society, why there's so much grievances going on, why there's so much tragedy, hunger, and all the situations that we have today.
Yeah.
So we have to go deeper, not the surface layer issues that people try to solve. We have to go to the cause. And I think today the effect is so far removed from the cause that we can never find a proper solution. So just like proper science, we have to keep going backwards, and keep going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper till we get to the first principle level or the first principle solution, just like nature does, or just the way the universe, it's like it works each and every time in every situation. We have to find solutions at that level. And that's what exponential intelligence science is really about, just going deeper into the problems. And I think that's where we can actually find real viable solutions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you've said that your work operates beyond traditional psychology and self improvement techniques by
Yes.
addressing people's core frequencies.
Yes.
So, can you explain the science behind this frequency work and how it creates such rapid transformations?
Of course. Yeah. So again, like psychology and self-improvement and things of that nature, what they do is like, okay, say you're broken or you have a traumatic life experience back in the day. And then what we do is in psychology is like, okay, you had this, let's work with it. Let's create a workaround or basically duct tape you together so you can sustain yourself. But you still exist in that reality of when the trauma was available, right? So if you step outside of your realm, your identity or your lifeline, you could literally go, oh, that's what that traumatic issue or circumstance can teach me. Now, you can't change physically what happened because that's written in the sands of time. But when you step back and go, oh, that's why it happened, you go, oh, I understand why it happened. I can take away another version of myself from that point of view. It literally, so what I do, Anastasia, is literally what I do is create a near death for people where, like, you've heard about near deaths where you get a life review, right? Right. So in my first near death, I stepped back and it's not a life review, it's a life relive. I relived life from not a kindergarten level, but a very like PhD level, like, oh, that's what life was about. Oh, that's what it was supposed to teach me. Oh, that's why this happened. So basically, that aspect of a near death experience, that's what I put people through without their near death. You don't have to have a near death, but you separate them from their identity and they go, oh, I get it. This is the situation I was in. That's why it happened. Well, I can move away from that. So you let go of, say, the time function because traumas exist in the time that they were created. So say that something happened to you at 10 or 12 years old, right? And you're 40 now. You basically go, every time you think of your identity at 40, you're going back to that trauma of 12 and then recreating your whole life every moment to create your identity here, right? It's all
Yeah,
time
I call
function.
it the bungee cord effect,
Exactly.
right? You have something that reminds you of
Yep.
that, and then it's like you snap back to that time and you're
Exactly.
still living in that pain the whole time.
Exactly. Because you're literally going back and
Mhm.
living the moment here. And this is where psychology, we separate from psychology because it's not in your brain. It's literally an existence or a time frame that you created yourself that's still alive because you're still creating your energy at that time level. So what we do is like, let's get rid of that bungee cord effect. Let's just release that. And then that time frame closes off for you. And then your light or your concentration of who you are shines exactly where you are. Hence being in the moment, being present, being complete, being whole. Because that's what those things mean scientifically. You're not whole if you're cast like an array of time ideas all the way through. And that's what most people do. They live from the past all the time. So how can you be whole or complete? You can't do it in your brain. You have to do it again at a higher level where you disconnect yourself from all these things that are expending your energy and just focus in on, say, one singular point in time. Now, right?
Exactly. So
Mhm.
people are fascinated by your ability to tap into deeper levels of
Yes.
consciousness and space time. So, how does your understanding of quantum physics and frequency align with modern scientific discoveries? And where do you see this field heading?
Oh, it's really amazing, Anastasia, because the more I study about it, the more it gets into like time dilation, frame rates. I don't know how deep you want to go into that, but I
Well, I
see.
used to teach that.
Oh, you did? Oh,
Yes, I was a
that's so
physics
cool.
professor,
That
right? So
was
I used to teach time dilation and how time is not static, that it depends on how
exactly.
you're moving relative to something,
Yep.
and that people think that time is constant, but actually it's a construct of the 3D world.
Yes.
And that if you're in the quantum field,
Mhm.
then all time exists at once.
Absolutely. So, just to go deeper in that, there is a constant of time okay, at a base level. But we have so many filters that we really don't see that constant of time or purity of time because
Hmm.
they have to be a constant. Otherwise, we wouldn't have carbon dating, we wouldn't have the atomic clocks, we wouldn't have anything like that, right? Because they'd be all over the place. So there's a constant there. So time outside of, say, our understanding, because it goes very, very deep, has a constant. But then the layers that we put ourselves, the layers that we see or experience time, that's where time dilation or compression happen. For example, like I'm doing a paper on actually health and rejuvenation, like aging younger and so on. Just to give you an example, say somebody had a traumatic experience at 14, 15. This woman will give you a case history. Her parents got divorced at 13. So she got stunted at 13. So now although she's 40, she looks like she's 25. So she's shortened time. So for every year, she only grows maybe 3, 4 months. So the benefit is that she looks like a 25-year-old, but then socially, she's a 25-year-old, although she's 40, which is very different. Psychologically, she's a 25-year-old. So all those things got distorted as well. So with her, it's like, okay, let's keep that time distortion of youthfulness, because we can do that. Let's keep that frequency, but then help you grow ageless into like wisdom and knowledge. So for her, she grew from a 25-year-old into a strong 40-year-old. So she still had to go through that growth experience. So what is that, 15 years? 15 years of growth in like 5, 6 months. So she grew from 25 to 40 in about 5, 6 months. So she caught up with time.
And she did it without pain? Like,
Well, there was pain because it's growing pains.
yes,
Obviously, there's
when
growing pains.
when I became very awakened, I went through basically weeks of crying
Mhm.
to release all of that.
Yeah,
You talk about changing frequencies. For me, it's
mhm,
like the inner core of the person is at the God frequency.
right,
And everything else is layered on it, and it
exactly,
dims your frequency, and so what I'm
exactly.
try for when I do healing, I strip away everything that's
Mhm,
not them,
yep.
and then they can shine through.
That's the way it is. Most modalities out there, what they do is like, okay, you're this, let's pack on more to accommodate you. And it doesn't really work,
No.
because you're complete as you are. You are totally complete. You just like you said, you just peel all those layers away from you, and then you find yourself. And you're very efficient, by the way. If that's what efficiency is like the least amount of moving parts, I would say, right? That work really together. So you take away all the filters, you take away your genetic identities, basically what you inherited from your parents and grandparents and so on. You don't need all that baggage to be you. You just need what they learned from that to be you. But in today's, say, genetic patterns, and I think you might find this interesting, where humans take on the memories, not just what they learned from that experience and move forward. Animals and nature, plants and so on, they just go, oh, okay, what did we learn from this? How can we just best improve ourselves in the next generation? So that next generation is pure and vital and ready for what's to come. Humans, like I said, they just like pull everything into, they just they just literally dump everything onto the next generation. And it's
Well,
like, here.
the epigenetic patterns are passed down, so if one person has an allergy
Mhm.
and they have a child, that person will inherit those allergy patterns. But if the
Yes.
allergy is then energetically removed from that person, they have another child, they don't have it.
Yes. And
Yeah.
yeah, and so in children like 0 to 7, I call it the liquid phase, where kids have the propensity, if the parents were awakened, society is awakened, to go, oh, my parents had this and this and this. It's like, it's not going to work out well for me. Let's not ingrain it. You know what I mean? But what do we do as parents? It's like, I said so, damn it. Do as I say, not, and all this stuff. And it was like, well, okay. But because kids, I don't know how we got into kids, but kids learn from the frequencies, not what you're saying or
E
trying to do them. They pick up on your because that's your natural element is understanding and understanding the underlying vibe or the frequency of who you are. that's what they pick up. So
Yeah.
you need to clean that up.
Well, it's like it's do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Uh,
And they recognize it. I recognized it. That
mhm,
was a source of contention between me and my mom. She
mhm,
wanted me this way, and I knew that her way wasn't a good way.
exactly.
And, uh, as a point, I think what you're saying is that you don't have to inherit what your parents have. You can be
No,
your own person.
no. Yeah. I want to get back into like time and all that. And then because
Yes,
I
let's
didn't really answer that question for you.
yeah.
Uh, so another way of doing it, the way we work is we're not fixing your current identity here, but there is a dimension of you live or you exist in another dimension. Say, for example, this dimension, you are experiencing heart disease because that's what this dimension is about. In this other dimension, you have no heart disease. You're totally fine, right? So what I do is like I literally focus out on go, oh, I see what dimension or what reality of the multidimensional space that you're creating yourself in. It's like, oh, you're in this area, and that's why you're experiencing heart disease. Again, it's not you that has a heart disease. You're in a reality or in an environment that dictates you have heart disease. Get it? And most of that is dictated by your hereditary patterns. Mom lived in this neighborhood. Mom lived in the same house. I'm going to live in the same neighborhood and same house. Well, obviously, you're going to get the same, say, experiences within that same house. So, what I say is like, oh, over here, you can experience something else. Again, you don't have to have heart disease in this dimension or in this neighborhood of the multidimensional space. And then I create a trajectory on getting you from point A to point B. And that's how you shift. So, your identity you're not again, the key is that you're not fixing this thing here. And this goes into a deeper one, a subject I just want to share with you. Like people who go, we're poor, we didn't have a great neighborhood situation. You want to become wealthy because that's what's happening every day. If I become wealthy, all my problems get resolved. That's what a lot of people think, right? But they become wealthy in the same, say, multidimensional space. They didn't change their frequency. So they become super wealthy, but they're dirt poor inside. They're still abused. They're still shortchanged. They're still not complete, right? They just have a lot of money. It doesn't really satisfy them because they didn't move their identity. They didn't move their identity of who they are. And that's what I do with a lot of individuals. It's like, well, let's move your identity. And that way, your wealth or your health or whatever that you want to fix can actually benefit you.
Yeah, I have actually I know a lot of millionaires who lost everything because of that very same thing you're describing. They didn't
Yep.
change their identity, and it
Yep.
wasn't until they became awakened, enlightened, and transformed that
Yep.
they were able to maintain that wealthy state.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the problem we have today is people go, wealth is bad. It's not bad. It's just that wealth and love and everything, of benefit, kids are magnifiers. They magnify the decoherence that you are basically. And people want to hold on to their instability and go, no, this is me. And it's like, well, are you sure? And then become wealthy, and then it's pretty hard to hold on because you've got more frequencies behind that destabilize you. Hence, when people become wealthy or they become get married, they fall in love, they become more and more unstable because of that principle.
That describes lottery winners as well.
Yep,
Most lottery winners are back to where they were within a year or two.
I know, crazy, right? So
Yeah. And they think that all their troubles will be over if they just won $1,000,000. Well, now
exactly.
it's gotta be 5.
Yep,
But when I was
exactly.
little, it was a 1,000,000.
Yeah, I know. Well, now it's billions and now it's trillions, and we can talk
Yep.
about value systems and what real value is. Your dollar is worth like negative 2 cents today, that your 1920s dollar is worth negative 2 cents. And, sure, it could be inflation and so on, but it's the value system of who we are, which is a really, as far as healing yourself, if you're valuing yourself, and if you're judging yourself based on societal patterns, you're just another cog in the machine, and you'll never feel valued because again, you're a cog in the machine, you're a slave. And this is where even like highly successful individuals, they stop producing and they feel valueless because they've transformed their value into something physical, and that's money. And then again, money becomes evil. But in reality, if you change your value system to identify who you are, like you said, as a pure spirit, an identity of, say, a pure definition of God, not a distorted definition, you go, damn, I'm limitless. I have true value. And then this is where your money actually equates to something. It
Right.
has it has intrinsic value, and
Right.
you are the value behind it.
You're an infinitely valuable divine being,
Absolutely.
and people forget that. They
Yep.
keep forgetting their divinity, and
Hmm.
they lose out on that by thinking that they're less than. They're too
Exactly.
busy comparing to everybody else,
Yep.
and we're incomparable.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, uh,
So
uh,
so what kind of shifts, let's talk about a shift,
mhm.
in people's lives after they undergo the process, like,
Okay.
where they were before. You described your
Mhm.
40-year-old who then matured into a beautiful 40-year-old that looked 25,
Yes.
right? I'm 72, by the way.
Oh, you look great.
Yeah, so
I'm 63, so
yeah,
we're aging really well.
I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is
Yeah,
the new way of aging. You don't have to age like society's patterns. So
yes.
aging is really great. Healing is really fantastic. I could tell you a ton of stories. One of my favorites is this high level CEO. They gave him 8 months to live, literally heart issues, and he had passed that down to his daughter, who had 5 heart surgeries by the time she was 10, and she was 20 when I met her, and they were about to 3D print a heart if they didn't get a donor. So that's the situation that they were in. So they try anything. They flew me to their home. I stayed there for a couple of days. And then over the course of about 4 or 5 months, doing a session a week. And these sessions aren't really long, maybe 15 minutes, half an hour, because they're not time valued. They're timeless. They're frequency sessions, not time bound or psychology sessions. So over the time, they got a hell of a lot healthier. And then about a year or so, he calls me up and it's like, hey, Moss, my tests came back, and I have a heart of a 43-year-old now, and he's in his 50s, and he's still living today and healthier, better than ever. His daughter doesn't need a heart transplant, and she doesn't identify herself as somebody that has heart issues. She's like, that's gone. That identity of herself, again, that's in another realm. That's way gone. And now I think she writes books, and is just really functional. I mean, that's one story. Kids who have ADD, ADHD, and all this stuff that they put kids on medicines, which is really, really sad. They
That's
just
horrible.
need I know. They need calibration of time and space. Hence, they're all over the place because their environment wasn't safe as they grew up. So they didn't know how to calibrate properly, again, from 0 to 7. So that if that miscalibration, you're off. You don't need more drugs because that'll put you even more off. All you need is literally somebody to go, oh, you know what? This is how you render yourself here in space and time. And in this situation, literally for a lot of kids, like a session or two, really will just go, "Oh, I'm right here." And then they actually start to teach their parents how to stabilize themselves.
Yes, that's
And it
absolutely. I love working with kids because
yeah,
they have no prejudice,
exactly.
and the shift is almost instant.
Yep.
I had an autistic child, and he was 2, and he
Mhm,
went from absolutely wild
mhm,
to, kind of being there in
yep,
2 sessions, 2 15-minute sessions,
exactly.
and
Eh,
they're amazing. The kids are amazing.
yeah. So the younger, you could heal people, even at infant level, because you can shift their frequency to be their best self. You're not imposing how they should be, you're releasing how they should be. You're freeing them for the frequencies. So you can even work on them in utero, which I have, and they grow up to be like beautiful children. that are self-sufficient, easier. They actually, like I said, teach their parents how to relax and be themselves, which makes better parents, and it's just a nice cycle for them.
Yeah, I did that actually with my 3 grandchildren.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and they're very beautiful. They're
Exactly.
yeah.
And have you noticed that they're self-perpetuating? They're not a lot of work. When they're
Oh.
eh, most people think, "Oh god, it's a sacrifice." I have 6 kids of my own, and, if you raise them properly, they keep you youthful and vibrant. They teach you how to go, "Yeah, you know what? It's not that bad. Life is great. Let's enjoy those moments where you can just be,"
Well,
but most
watching
parents
watching the child experience the world through fresh eyes makes us young again.
absolutely.
And then doing it again with grandchildren, same
Mhm.
thing, right?
Exactly. I
Uh,
haven't had grandkids, but yeah,
yeah.
looking forward to it.
Oh, it's awesome. It's an awesome
I can
experience.
imagine. I can imagine.
Totally.
Yeah.
So let's just get back to the
Mhm,
scientific validation for spiritual
mhm,
concepts. I know
mhm.
I run into this a lot and I try
Yes.
to speak because my podcast is called Physics Powered Healing.
Mhm.
I want to ground it in science. So how do you bridge that gap between the science and what some people call woo-woo ideas?
Yeah. Well, you'd really have to understand what woo-woo is. Like the current science, if you're always updating it and the current science always goes, 10 years ago, we thought it was this, but we're way off. We're totally wrong. It's totally the opposite. So is that really validated in science? I mean, the hard sciences, sure, we get advanced technology, but then even look at that technology is destroying us. It's causing a lot of havoc, the rate of suicide, all those things are increasing because, and the scientists themselves say that it's because of the science that we're using. So that isn't validated science to me, and I think that's woo-woo stuff. Because
Well,
it's not
I was in
creating that.
that yeah, I was in that world for 40 years,
Yeah.
and I call it iterative. You're iteratively getting to the answer,
Yes.
and there were papers published in '52, which was my
Mhm.
birth year. There
Yeah.
papers published in '52 that still
Mhm.
hold today, but that's 1 out of thousands,
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
so people the science world is like they put out all these ideas,
Mhm.
and eventually one of them will shine.
Yes.
And so you could take everything with a grain of salt, but after you read a lot of them, you start to see the truth come through.
True. True.
And it's kind of the same with this, except that the woo part of the world is just stuff that we haven't measured yet.
Well, absolutely, and I think science should be open because that's how science grows and refines itself. So neither one is wrong. I think together we could really find out where it could be. It's like being intuitive, but you need like physical grounding as well to make or logical physical aspects of your intuition work really well. A lot of people are just intuitive, but then they get messed up using their intuition because they don't have the physical like logic or the grounding. So together, it'll work really well. One of the biggest things for me is that I started working on quantum computers. So there is an absolute benchmark where a lot of times the coherence states, tripling them, sometimes quadrupling the coherence states. That doesn't lie because it's just straight out fact. If you're working on somebody, you could go, well, they had something changed. There's so many variables on humans, right? You can always go, well, it's because of this. It's because of this. It's not because of your session and all that. But like on quantum computers, it's like, well, you either created that coherence or you didn't. It's just a test that they run. So in that case, the tests that we're running is like time after time after time. It's like they're more coherent when I'm creating that frequency for them, and they become more and more and more efficient afterwards as well. So you can literally train a quantum computer. Even you can even, and that's because they're working on electrons, which is in superposition, which is nature. That's why
Yes, exactly.
so.
And people don't understand how much empty space things
Mhm.
are.
Yep.
And I ran a calculation. I didn't even consider the compressive state
Uh-huh.
of the nucleons and electrons, but if you compress the entire Earth, it turns out to be 1.5 football fields in diameter.
Exactly. Not much, you know? So what's all that space? What's that what does that space hold? And that's the
It's
intelligence that we can
yes,
tap into
it's
on
all
it.
of that frequency and
Yeah.
energy, and that's
Yeah.
exactly right.
Exactly. Other ways of validating this is one, obviously, people who have heart conditions in the past, now they don't. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Or they have like tumors, now they don't. They just like tumors disappear, stuff like that. Is like, well, you have to validate that somehow. You can't just go, well, the MRI was broken or whatever. You know what? They came up with the strangest things. It's like science
Yeah,
should actually like look at, oh, something did happen. Let's perfect our science and figure it out the logistics.
yeah, I was working on a coma patient
Mm,
and had a traumatic brain injury, and I'm standing over him. I knew him since his childhood, and
mm,
as I'm standing over him, all the dials start shifting.
yep,
And I'm going, "Ooh, what are those bells not ringing anymore?" And I wrote down all of the things and realized that I was shifting him in real time right there.
yep,
And he was given up. The doctor told his mom he's not waking up.
mhm,
It's too much brain injury, but he woke up when I said he was gonna wake up, and
yeah,
he's still doing well.
exactly.
And
So,
it's just the shift in frequency that you're talking about. I like the way you put it.
yeah,
I had my own ideas based on
mhm,
science, but I like the way you put that. And so let's talk about what you have to offer. Like, where can
mhm.
people find you?
Oh, they can go to the xicode.com, which is my main website. There's a lot of free stuff that you can do. I do a live show. It's called Masati on Sunday. It's on YouTube. You can join me live. I can scan you. But we talk about the major subjects, kind of like life explained, kind of explain why life is the way it is and then how to change it. So again, going to the root cause of why life is the way it is and give you exercises. It's an experiential show where I actually help you create, say, generate frequencies, and you'll actually feel the difference as you listen. So it's not just like knowledge for the brain, it's knowledge for the soul because you start to become the knowledge and it starts to cleanse out a lot of the situations that most people have. So that's a really good place to start, especially if you're new to frequencies or you're going, I don't know about this. Give it a try. It's free. There's nothing to lose, actually. And it gives you another way of looking at things. If your life is not working, why hold on to the patterns? Try something else. Okay. It could be a little different, but again,
It could be a
different might
lot
be good.
different.
It could be a lot different. Exactly. But like if your life is not working the way it is, you need to try something very, very different. And this is something very, very different that, Anastasia and I are offering you all. So,
Yeah, it's exactly right. And
mhm,
I actually teach people this thing. It's not just doing it for them, but I teach them how to
yes.
do it for themselves. You
Yes,
have that too?
absolutely. Because I'm helping you rewire yourself, but I'm not doing it for you. I'm that guide. And it's like, okay, this is how you do it. So at a deeper level, you might not reach it, but I wake you up at a deeper level. And actually, once you wake, you might find this too. As you wake people up, awaken them to who they really are, they figure it out on their own
Yeah,
on how
and
to
they
fix
can't
themselves.
be who they were anymore.
Of course, once
They
you know the
can't go
truth, you
back.
can't. Yeah, you can't
Yeah.
go back.
Yeah, and what the other interesting thing that I've seen, and you've probably seen this too, is that
Mhm.
as soon as one person in a family wakes up, they either
Yes.
reject them or they go along with them and the whole family heals. It's like the entire family
Yes.
dynamic heals.
Yes. Yeah, I call that genetic healing. Most healing happens, and this is the problem with today's society. It's surface level healing. The DNA, the genetics don't change at this level. But like you were saying, you change that one person at a frequency level, their gene pools start to literally change because their DNA is picking up on going, hey, what's going on? They're actually figuring this stuff out. And then especially if you have children, you change, your kids change for the better. And that's how you pass that on to the next generation, and the next generation gets cleaner and cleaner. So definitely, that's true healing when you're changing yourself. Everybody around you starts to elevate themselves Or if they don't, like you said, they just leave because they want to stay at that level.
Yeah, they can't be in the same room with you. They have
No.
trouble.
Yep. Well,
Yeah.
different realities, they can't mesh. You're not in that same frequency anymore. So
Yeah.
they can't
I
like
always say
push into
that
you.
if your frequencies are that far off, you don't have anything to say to one another anymore.
Absolutely. So
And
true. That's
right.
beautiful.
And yeah, and I just love this work, and I'm sure you do too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's such a joy to just really help people at a very, very deep level, like true help, not just like, here's a handout, because we don't need more handouts. We just need something that really, really works and really, really is functional and duplicatable.
Yes. We don't need band-aids anymore.
No, no, we need true solutions. True.
Exactly right. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate you being here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
Awesome. Thank you for tuning in to Physics Powered Healing. You'll find resources and show notes on our website at physicspoweredhealing.com. Until next time, I'm Dr. Anastasia Chopelas, sending you golden healing light and success vibes on your journey to becoming a powerful, confident healer or intuitive. Remember, your gifts are so needed in this world.